and we're here at the International Energy Forum Ministerial Meeting. I'm joined by Bassam Fattouh, and he is with the Oxford Institute of Energy Studies. And indeed, I have this wonderful book here, Bassam, with your name on it. So, a man who's done some tremendous work here on putting this together, 20 years of the IEF. Tell us a little bit about the work that went into this.
Well, we tried to cover really the history, the last 20 years of the history of the IEF, and actually we found it extremely exciting, you know, from very low level of cooperation towards institutionalization of the IEF. You know, we explored a little bit what the future for the IEF would look like.
I have to read that chapter yet, but looking back on it, when it was all started, I mean, it was a small organization when you think of it. I mean, it was very small. It was an initiative that had to be taken, but I just wondered, did they ever think it was going to grow to where we are today, which is great.
Yes, it is great. The way it first happened, it was a result of the 1990 crisis, really. When Iraq invaded Kuwait, the market lost a lot of supplies, and actually there was some implicit coordination between the OPEC and the IEA at that time. And I think they found, both consumers and producers, found that actually it makes sense for them to cooperate. And I think, you know, once they started talking to each other, they found that, you know, there's a potential there, and that's how it moved on after that.
Indeed, I think for so long it was the producers on one side, the consumers on the other, and really what was important was they have more in common than they had in difference, really.
Of course, you know, for a very long time when oil prices were very high, producers lost interest. When oil prices were quite low, consumers lost interest. And actually it's until very recently, 2008, we realized that both producers and consumers have interest in maintaining a price within stable ranges.
So when you looked ahead then into your crystal ball and looked ahead for the future, what have you come up with for the main challenges that the industry has to look at?
Well, I think it's exciting years because really, you know, the dividing line is no longer between producers and consumers. There's going to be a lot of debate between consumers themselves, especially with the entry of China and India. So we're going to see a lot of debate between consumer countries themselves. But we're also going to see some debate within producers as well, with the entry of Brazil, with the entry of Russia. So I think, you know, the dividing lines between the OPEC and the IEA, which dominated the IEF for a long time, I think those are going to become less and less important. And new players are going to come into the debate, and they're going to express their interest and project their power as well.
And indeed, we see it happening, I mean, right before our eyes in terms of particularly on the consumer side, where, you know, in the last 10 years, really, China has emerged to an extent where I don't think people really thought it would.
Exactly, and that's why the OPEC, the IEA, you know, they really cannot represent the interests of such new players, such as China and India at the moment.
So here we are on a day when the charter was signed. It's really a historic day, really, when you think about where this organization has come from and hopefully where it will go. But it hasn't been easy all the way. I mean, there's been some serious cajoling that has been done, and there's been a lot of lobbying going on. And behind the scenes, getting it to this level has taken quite a bit of work, hasn't it?
Of course, because you are dealing with a group of players with very divergent interests. And of course this requires a lot of diplomatic efforts. But I think that charter is a very good step. At the end of the day, the dialogue is an important aspect, but it's also the quality of the dialogue which matters. So it's not the dialogue just for the sake of dialogue, it's just the quality of the dialogue, and dialogue that is able to deal with the concerns of both producers and consumers. And hopefully, you know, all the players will mature enough to express their interests let's say in a cooperative way, and you know, move the debate forward. Because sometimes the debate seems to be very much directed by events outside, you know, events inside the oil market. You know, when oil prices rise, everyone's interested in dialogue. When prices go down, the interest goes down with it. So it's good, you know, for them to start looking for the long-term interests, regardless of the short-term behavior of oil prices. You know, you know, if they succeed in doing that, I think that will push the dialogue in the right direction.
Now we have 86, I believe, signed and sealed today. That was the initial count, I think, from the ones that were signed at that time this morning. More interest coming on board, but Mr. Van Hulst is saying he'd really like to see it hit 100 and beyond. Do you think that's possible?
Well, you know, it's more about, it's not only about the number of countries. Of course, the more countries they join, the better, but it's also about the quality of the dialogue. and we have to make sure that dialogue is of a very high quality, deals with the interests of all players, and I think that's the most important thing, is to address the issues that are of interest to both producers and consumers.
Super. Well, Bassam, thank you so much for joining us, and indeed we have here 20 years of the IEF, so well done, great work, and I'll continue reading it. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.